Notacon.
Rock. All right, good afternoon. Wow, we've actually got a lot of people here. This is like amazing. I think this is more than Froggy had for the keynote. Sorry, Paul. To begin with, just out of curiosity, before we start, are there any feds in the room? FBI? Come on.
They're not going to own up to it. They have to.
Any AOL users? You can leave. Who's the other one? Leave now. All right, last question. Who here is doing the scavenger hunt? No one is doing the Notacon scavenger hunt? You are. Well, you're already taken. Anybody else doing the scavenger hunt? Nobody? This is staff excluded. Okay.
Staff excluded.
The reason why I ask is because one of the items there, I found out four points to get your picture taken with a speaker. So what I figured to do, and I would offer to y'all, would be if you were participating, we'd come up here, do one group picture, and we'll call it like 100 points. You know, and just, you know, because I was surprised when I showed up yesterday, and I'm sitting there talking to Tiger, and all of a sudden these flashes are going off the corner of my eye. And I'm like, I haven't been drinking yet. And I see certain people like mugging behind me. It's like, what the bloody hell is going on here? And she's just like, I'm like, ah, shit. So the offer stands. I'll make the offer again at the end for those who are just showing up now. This talk is going to be pretty informal. Go along with the conference anyway. And the title's a little misleading. I wanted to put something to do with community because, well, this is a community-oriented conference. And even though I'm a security geek, you know, I kind of wanted to apply the spirit of the theme of the conference to my talk. So there's the word community in there. Say no more. What I'm going to talk about is really one of the major issues in the security field. Who here is a security geek just by trade or by hardcore interest anyway? Okay, just so I can get a feel for the audience. All right. We all look at IT security vulnerabilities and you get all the mailing lists, bug track, vulndev, full disclosure, first, NSPsec. All these lists are out there. They're the ISACs and the US CERT. You have the NIPSI. And some other folks. And they were all designed to share information and help resolve security vulnerabilities. That's what they were chartered to do. Unfortunately, as we've seen, there's still no consensus on what constitutes information sharing. You've got people who say, on one hand, you know, information should be free, the John Perry Barlows of the world. And we heard that last night from Richard's talk. Pass it all out to the world, let everybody have equal opportunity to use this information. On the other hand, you've got the people who say information could be used for evil. And the fact that it could be used, could, bold, italic, underline, blink tag, could, means that we have to restrict its distribution because otherwise it could, bold, blink, italic, underline, be used for evil. And there are two very opposite ends of the extreme. And there's still no consensus on it. And despite all the hype and hoopla we've got now since 9/11 and Homeland Security, whether you're talking about cybersecurity, chemical plant security, aviation security, or lack thereof, the debate still rages on. So that's what the talk is about. And I'm not approaching it from purely technology track. Richard hinted at it last night in his talk where he said about, you know, creativity is not just technology based. It can start there or it can end there, but you can't just operate in a vacuum. And you can't create new ideas within the construct of your current box. You have to think outside the box, or in some cases, bring your own box with you. So in that regard, I'm going to start off and talk about the greater concept of the vulnerability disclosure debate, which falls under risk communications. And I'm going to go through a few slides and end up with some recommendations on where we really need to focus if we're ever going to get this issue resolved and not continue this treading water approach that we're seeing now in the cyberspace, physical space, whatever security space you're talking about. Risk communications is actually a professional discipline, been around for 30 or 40 years as a discipline. It's basically how do we communicate risks to people, the public. users, the community. There are any number of examples. You can Google for several. The one I like using, is from the Army Center for Health Promotion. And basically says it's a process of building and maintaining relationships based on trust. And trust, as many of you know, is a major buzzword in the IT space, right? You know, we have trusted systems, trusted computing platform architecture. Yeah, right. Microsoft has trusted, well, let's not go there. VeriSign provides trust with certificates, maybe. Trust is a nice new marketing buzzword. But unfortunately, a lot of times, trust always comes back to technology. And we look to technology, again, as the savior for our current problems in the real world. Risk communications, yes, communications does rely on technology, voice, video, data, internet. But it's not just a geek thing that we in this room can understand and appreciate and work on. We all have parents. Many of them probably have computers who may use AOL. How many folks have had to teach their parents how to use email? Myself included. Was that a fun process? No. How many folks have had to fix their parents' computers when they've had a problem, spyware, malicious code, whatever? Okay, was that a fun process?
Not over yet.
Not over yet. Talking with your parents. Talking with your parents as you were doing this troubleshooting, whether you realized it or not, was a form of risk communication. You were trying to espouse your wisdom, your knowledge to them. Say, look, Mom, don't use Internet Explorer. I gave you this thing called Firefox. It's really cool, but it's also really good. Here's why. You're communicating risks. Didn't require technology to do so. Technology was sort of the medium that occurred, but you were talking directly to them. It is not reliant on technology buzzwords. And I know from being in DC, the political capital of the world, and a lot of the IT capital there, technology is everywhere. Technology is our savior. In Deus Machina. That's a frightening prospect when we're trying to talk about issues that affect our safety, our security. This slide actually builds on some stuff I spoke about in past conferences. And it's a very, 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 very high-level view of 3 schools of thought regarding the disclosure of security vulnerabilities. A lot of this is based on IT security, but they're equally applicable for security in the real world, as well as public safety issues, medical issues, epidemics, spread of viruses, nuclear power plant meltdowns, chemical spills. These are all related. The 3 schools are pretty self-explanatory, as I said earlier. On one hand, you've got people who say, let's just give the world everything. Information wants to be out there. Scott Culp at Microsoft coined that wonderful term, information anarchy, fearing that all this information will cause any number of bad guys to do even worse things. On the opposite side of the coin are the zero disclosure folks. Most of these are the government and vendors, most recently Sybase. And these folks basically fall in the mindset of, trust us, we know what's best, we will fix it for you, just live your life and do what you want to do. But trust us. We're the government, we're here to help. We're Sybase, we're here to help. In the middle is a growing medium, what's become known as responsible disclosure, which simply, to drum it down, says, I'm Jim Lichko, I found a vulnerability in a product. I will call the vendor, I'll give the vendor a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever, a reasonable amount of time, a realistic amount of time, to fix the problem, acknowledge it, fix it, offer some sort of countermeasure, some solution or fix or patch. And if they don't, or if it doesn't happen in that time frame, or they ignore me, at the end of that 30 days, whatever, I will release this announcement to the world saying there's a problem in FARC 3.44 that if you do X, Y, and Z, I don't know, Jenna Jameson will pop up on the banner. Okay. Damn. Okay, I'm sorry, I meant Bill Gates. Sorry, Drew. And the vendors look at that as blackmail. Oh my God, how dare you? You don't know our product. We know our product. It's our product. We coded it. So these people in the middle try to find a way that leverages the vendor's interests, business interests, software interests, and the realistic needs to get this stuff fixed with the community's interest, the need to know, the desire to know. What this leads to are a series of countervailing benefits across the board. If you go down the full disclosure route and say, share it with the world, everybody knows everything. That is a great thing. I love that, me personally. The flip side is, if I know it, so do the bad guys. extend that logic out, who are the bad guys? A competitor? A black hat hacker? A foreign cyber warrior? We don't know. But the information's out there, and it's for the picking. Anybody can use it. On the zero disclosure side, and this is a big one that people don't often talk about, by restricting the information and classifying it or keeping it to a close cartel, how do you provide accountability when problems occur or potential problems occur and they're covered up? This last bullet is I see this all the time in talking with the Homeland Security officials about changes that have happened since 9/11 with regards to chemical plants, airport security, port security, epidemics and medical issues. And as you may see by reading the newspapers even, this is a huge problem because a report comes out from the government, the General Accounting Office. They say there's a big problem with our aviation security, but they can't publish the results. There's a problem, we can't tell you about it. Okay, well, if the public, who technically should be holding the political folks accountable for their public safety and security, can't hold their people accountable, is the public being well served? What do you think? I don't think so. However, if the report comes out and says, well, United Airlines Flight 447 from Dallas to Seattle had no cockpit door. It was a Boeing whatever. That's a little much. That's a specific vulnerability. The plane is now currently in Chicago. You don't need to go that far. But you need to have a level of accountability to hold not just the politicians accountable, but the vendors. NGSS is a great example, or EI, pick your vulnerability researchers du jour. I view these folks as almost like a third-party auditor, an inspector general. They're holding the vendors accountable for their products and keeping us safer through their efforts. I'm not a coder. I make no bones about being a coder. But knowing that these guys are out there makes me feel a little bit better knowing that I can trust my software or trust certain software. And there's a huge fight about that, and we'll talk about that. But in the middle category, and this has received much attention as a potential solution, responsible disclosure. Sure, we can come together and share information in a forum or a conference or a restricted mailing list, but the question remains, who identifies who the good guys are? I'll give you a great example. There are IT security, there's BugTrack, and then there's like a government version of BugTrack called Information Sharing Analysis Centers, the ISACs. Financial services have one, all the banks get together and share information. But where do you draw the line between a big bank like MasterCard or Chase and, I'm gonna pick on Melinda, Melinda's small little bank in Cleveland. If they can't pay the $50,000 membership fee to join and support this ISAC, they're a financial institution, but they're cut out of the loop. Picture that now in the energy sector, the utilities, and transportation sector, IT sector. Where do you draw that line? If you're president of Melinda Bank, yeah, you want to know what's going on. You want to be playing on the same level playing field as the big guys. But if you can't ante up the money to get that information, you're SOL. This is a growing source of contention in the entire Homeland Security debate regarding information sharing. And there is no clear-cut answer yet. Thiem hit it last night because he was talking about the challenges of these bureaucratic institutions and old ways of thinking and thinking inside the box. So part of this talk is going to look at ways to get outside of that box and hopefully, maybe not right now, but in the foreseeable future, come to some level of agreement on this. And it's not as difficult as some may think so. But right now, we've got a lot of challenges in sharing information. How much is too much? Who's the good guy? Who are the bad guys? Some of the challenges. Best example was on September 11th. Rudy Giuliani. He was a good guy, good, bad, depending on what you think of him. He said something on 9/11 repeatedly that really, really made me respect him, at least as a crisis manager. You know what he said when he was doing his briefings from New York on that morning and that afternoon? When he was holding the press briefings, he looked at the camera or he responded to reporters and said, "I don't know." Do you know the impact of such and such such? I don't know yet. We can't get in there to look at it and assess it until the fires are out or the rubble is removed.